enough of an opening that you can set up the ramp where Calico then goes into your jungle. Calico then begins stealing stuff. However,
I was both the Haze and the Infernus to pop off. Now, before we get into the game, very quick, DDK.
This is a good point. It is pretty.
You sit him on top with the assistant. It is ridiculous. Oh, he's going on to this lane. Interesting.
Everyone's gonna get what they want.
you know, I think what's interesting to me, Dan, as we look at this here, is that you're putting the Holiday into the side lane. You're not actually throwing the Holiday middle. Also, the middle lane is terrifying as a Bebop pocket lane. So, I mean, one win, you know, as expected, they're putting their strongest cards into the middle overall. But VP, I wonder if this is a world where they realize that mid lane might have been like really awful to play against, and instead they're just going, we'll take right instead.
Yeah, and for context for the viewers, if you haven't seen Overseas on Bebop before, we saw it recently, and Overseas Bebop is really devastating because his ability to get hooks into pressure really effectively in the very early to mid game is very strong, and the roaming like ganks were also very strong in the previous game that we saw. So yeah, that Bebop for me, and the fact that it didn't get banned, that is like a huge part of the story here, as an early focus for me.
Well, Bebop also went up in value as a star of the opponent's pick too. With the changes that got made, the denies recently, where you don't have the 90 millisecond buffer, Bebop can also just kind of pillage your early game souls with the fact that his weapon is so incredibly good at getting denies, right? I mean, it's one of the few, well, it's the only instant weapon in the game after the charge up, right? It's not just like a shotgun level high velocity. It is simply on what it's hitting. So, yeah, I mean, the goal here might be the starve out middle lane, but we'll see where it goes, because the right lane is going to be pretty deadly for VP in turn.
I have to say, I'm in love with the One Wins comp. I think it's really fun. Hello! What a hook! Uppercut straight into the Guardian. Goodbye.
Yeah, you just note the futility of the parry there. You just see Vindicta's HP completely evaporate. It's just like, parry. It's like, well, it was the right move, but it is absolutely not going to save you in the moment. But also, we didn't even touch on this here. It's not even Obakim on the Holiday. It's Demov on the Holiday and Obakim on the Haze. So, you know, extra changes there compared to what we've seen, at least within DFN.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe we'll see more of the method behind the madness of the Haze pickup, because obviously we saw that you know, in Hands of Play with me previously, but they were under so much pressure. It feels like that they didn't really get to execute whatever the whole sort of strategy was there with the Haze. We never saw the power spike out of the Haze or the impact out of the Haze. So we'll see if that can be different for VP. But I just love the capacity for pressure from One Win. It's actually going to provide some pretty entertaining moments in terms of the ganking, especially around the Bebop. But we don't often get to see the Sinclair as well, and Sinclair has also got a lot of really powerful interactions between the Hex and also the ult. So it should be quite fun.
By the way, given the hero pools, wait, hold on, quick charge. I don't result in too much here from neighbors, but yeah, given the hero pools, it's Zanya on the Calico here. It's not ABL on that. So, you know, you think back to the draft, you go, oh, why are you banning the Amato? They're clearly going to put ABL onto the Calico. Maybe not, based on where it's at. But it's also interesting in terms of where you play the player versus where you play the hero. ABL is still middle on the pocket, and it's Zanya that's off on the left lane a little bit more passively. Yeah,
it's really interesting. There's a couple interesting things about that, but okay, so yeah. I keep thinking a kill's about to happen here. There is so much pressure. This is honestly such a painful lane. The Bebop pocket, that's kind of ridiculous to be up against that. So much damage, so much threat from the hooks. Very hard to kill a pocket. Pocket going for the dive. Here comes the hyper beam as well to keep that pressure on. And in fact, for One Win, taking down this tower as quickly as possible would be extremely beneficial, because getting the Bebop onto that pressure game, being able to roam around the map with the hooks as early as possible will be huge. And a sub 430 initial Guardian in mid, that's so powerful.
Ooh. Yeah, not only are they getting the Guardian down early, but look at the soul spread in the middle lane. They have just starved Michaelis on the other side. It is absolutely ridiculous. It is a lane that has done as much on the deny front as it has on the kill front. And One Win also making it happen in the right lane. I mean, this has been a very One Win centric early game here so far, but especially with the early Guardian down, because look at the jungle. Look at what's happening. What is going to happen in the jungle. The stealing is going to start very soon.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about one of the interesting things with ABL being on the pocket for me is just that, well, hold that thought. Okay, well, yeah, it's always hard to kill a Calico, but okay, yeah, that's going to be denied. Well, I was going to make the point that, you know, do you put any focus on keeping the Calico down? Or, I mean, it's going to be hard to keep the pocket down as well, because pocket's going to be very mobile, especially now that they've got that mid Guardian down. So, oh, hello. Okay, these are the ganks we're talking about. In off of the jump dash, quick hook into uppercut, and you're in the jail, but it doesn't matter. There's the finish from Flammable to take down Zergy, and another tower could go down here off the back of that pick. Again, this presence from overseas, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the one adaptation we see that we kind of sussed out from the early lane assignments, that VP is trying to like make their strong lane more into the right side, but so far it's been one win setting the tempo of things where they go, okay, you guys are going to overcommit right, that's fine, we'll take left, we'll be up 2 Guardians, already have the flex slot. Listic right now, trying to make something happen, charge over and in, getting though in turn by Empty Dreams, and see how this one pans out. Obakim in for the support, Seismic Slam in from Listic, down onto the Guardian and dead. 1 win. Still able to adapt around that, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, 3 players critically low for 1 win, but yeah, overall in terms of kills coming out on top. And if we look at the Guardians, it's still 2 Guardians down in favor of 1 win and a 2 Guardian deficit for VP. So VP really are struggling with the pressure, and look at that, the cold front into the satchel is beautiful damage. Can we escape now? No satchel. The cloak, I don't know if that cloak is on cooldown, but it's not going to be possible there. But really good pressure though, taking down Obakim. I think that's definitely worth it, that disruption for 1 win.
See Michaelis trying to apply a little bit of damage onto the Bebop, but also having to be incredibly respectful of being at 260 HP. Here we go, back onto the right side, D-Mob, a little bit of pressure from above. VP having to stack the lanes with 3 pretty early here, and the downside that comes when you have 3 in lane this early is that you end up giving up some of the jungle. I think, you know, it hasn't been too much here so far, but 1 win I think has had more opportunities to grab a few camps here and there. But also the big part for 1 win is just the fact that you've had overseas and ABL being super mobile despite dominating the middle lane, right? Like, you don't really know when they're going to rotate. Swap here, though. Onto Listic. Listic trying to fight to and fro. Again, double teamed here on the right. 150 HP. Listic hanging on. Gets a nice little melee lifesteal, but it's not enough to live. Lasso, though, makes it a trade.
Yeah, and the holiday isn't low enough to be finished off there by overseas, but yeah, it was. It's not. It's kind of funny, like seeing the power imbalance there, where you've got like the Paradox just launching a punch into Abrams like solar plexus, and then Abrams going flying. Kind of seems like it should be the other way around, but yeah, still a great start though for 1 win. Ultimately, here looking like, you know, they are dictating the pace, and that was one of the sort of win cons I mentioned, is that with this type of comp, 1 win need to be, that's heavily a part of their strategy, is to ensure that they are the ones having their opponents respond. And I think you made a great point, ZP, about the fact that VP had to have 3 in a lane to respond to certain pressure. Because I think at this level of play, you know, teams are good enough to be thinking about, okay, well, you know, we're going to call out how many opponents are in a lane, and us calling out how many opponents are in a lane gives the understanding to our teammates as to how they should, like, what protocol they should be running, how aggressive they should be, you know. So the understanding of how to min-max off of where your opponents are positioned and how many is definitely, you know, at a pretty good level in the game at the moment.
And even in the period where they were stacking the lane with 3, I mean, VP is still out there searching for their first Guardian on top of it, where you look at the overall aggregate and you go, oh, it's pretty even between the 2 teams. 1 win has way more options for how to play the map right now, just by virtue of having 2 Guardians down already. And you look at here at the left, this is where things might go from bad to worse for Zergy. 1 win just in the area, and at any point, you could just see Xenon go in and you know, withdraw from the bank of Zergy, but instead, might be rotating towards the middle, or just content to take vaults right now. You look at where Paradox and Calco are, they're just feasting, oh, off the teleporter! Hello!
Yeah, and that was a beautiful catch, because right now, obviously, 1 man have the understanding of the 3 players, 4 players pushing into this right side, and help is needed. Now, of course, ABL is somewhat close-ish, farming the jungle, but they really needed Flammable to make this worth the time. So instead, just got to give it up, continue farming for ABL, and we're out of here. This is what 1 win we're doing, using the TPs. We're going to get a gank here coming through from VP onto this left lane. It's a 3v3 though, but is it going to be the case that Flammable's able to get out of there to his teammates? He's completely separated.
The Sinclair shift is so strong. Did you just see on the map Sinclair just covered a football field worth of distance off the swap? That is absurd for getting out of danger. And you know, part of why we talked about last broadcast of Sinclair just having this unique ability to just escape danger. And that was it. The mini map told the tale there. ABL though, he sees the last stand come in from Sharik and goes, no, we're good. Just you're fine. I'm just gonna leave. So Sharik also says, all right, he left. I'm going back to base, or at least getting some farm in the jungle.
I mean, all things considered, as EP, it feels like OneWin have obviously done a great job executing their strategy. But then if you look at how ahead they are, they're not actually really far ahead on the souls. It's been kept to a pretty even state by Virtus Pro, despite being some objectives behind. So I think VP are doing what they need to do to be able to get into that mid game and still be able to kind of execute their strategies as well.
No, VP certainly isn't out of it, right? I mean, remember that the primary win condition for OneWin here is getting ahead and staying ahead. Sharik finding APL. However, back over in the right, it's OneWin. Portioning quite a few in. The swap comes out. Surely you would think that this is going to be the end of Obitkim here. Don't think Obitkim is going to get away. Takes a little bit cover behind the side, goes for the melee, but no. No way out. And should be another Guardian going the way of OneWin here. I don't know if they're going to be able to rotate enough in time. You see Sharik heading over, but Sharik also is like kind of a paper tiger at that point because there's no last stand. You're not afraid of a Warden, no last stand at this point in the game.
Pressure there from the Calico around the urn, and looks like VP are somewhat outnumbered here. So OneWin looking to take advantage. There's a pick off, might be another one coming through as well. Miguel S is trying to get out of dodge, is able to do so, cut off those angles, and back they go.
Urn gonna be picked up by Flammable. OneWin off posturing and onto left. Could be Sharik in trouble. Anytime you see a solo Warden within swap range with the Calico in the area, you get a little bit worried for the Warden, but it's gonna be a quick teleport out from the Calico, so just 1 versus 1 in left, and mostly a right lane Urn turn-in setup coming in for OneWin, but VP being very aggressive in denying space here, Dan, not even letting them get within range of the turn-in so far.
Yeah. And there's pressure on the left side lane from OneWin. They got 2 players there against 1. So looking to try to get that pressure onto the Walker at the same time. But that does actually weaken OneWin's ability to potentially get the undrop off. But there's no challenge there. VP are instead putting their efforts into that mid push, trying to take down that Guardian. And they might be able to get a pick here on Overseas, who is against 3 all alone. He's got teammates coming in to assist. Meanwhile, as we look on the left side of the lane here, we've got a desperate escape coming in on that Calico. Zanya trying to get out of there. I don't think that's going to happen though. Even though it's Calico, there's 2 players on the position using the movement there. They're jumping off the side of the building. Not going to be enough. But when all is said and done, it feels like the teams traded somewhat evenly. I think VP managing to take down that mid tower is huge.
Yeah, I would argue I think that was a better trade for VP than not, where, okay, you get souls for OneWin. But we saw in the last game that getting the middle Guardian is not a guarantee. You could go the entire game and not get middle Guardian, the way things play out right now. And with how much of the map it locks down, gang is huge. Bullet dance here for swap. Not much of a dance for Obitkim, as it turns out. Just too much in the lane to immediately shut him down. So 69k to 64k, and yeah, looking at how this gets a portion is going to be interesting. Still 1 Guardian up for OneWin on the left. But more interested in the jungle play that's going on here. A little bit thievery once more.
Thievery is pretty important. The Kleptomania is good if you're a Kleptomaniac in this game. Good place to channel that. OneWin have been really good again, on their invasions. We saw that in the previous game as well. 5k souls ahead at the moment, so not an enormous lead, but just, as you were saying, ZP is where they want to be, where they should be, if they are looking to win this game based on the comp and so on. And again, we can see that the map control is certainly in their favor at the moment, and VP keep having to react to OneWin, which is how OneWin like it. Speaking of which, fairly aggressive position from Demov on the holiday, maybe looking to set up a potential pick. Calico is farming. Lasso is available.
Demov's looking for something here, for sure, because you see Listic coming in off on the rotation. It's a 3-on-2 over into left lane right now. Anyone that's in Lasso range from Demov is going to get hit by it immediately. So we're looking at Sinclair's point of view now, or the Demov. Lasso comes in. Rabbit Hex out right away. And now there's rotation from one when they're aware of what's going on, immediately come in, and VP stuck in a hard retreat in turn. Meanwhile, back to left lane, is that, looks like, yep, Mikhail is just crunched in lane. One win just, they break off part of the chase to middle, recommit on the left, and just collapse onto both Obakim and Mikhail that were still in lane.
Yeah, and now one could just kind of fall off. They force the reaction. Cleaning up on the right side of the map, we've got Zelen on the Paradox, getting those creeps, pushing that lane back. And yeah, still a lot of presence on the map here from One Win. Feels like they're still kind of dictating the pace a little bit. VP in much more kind of constrained positions. And there is a threat of a gank coming in again from One Win, it feels like. They do have players that could potentially try to find a pick. Obviously, with that bebop hook, it's always a good way to initiate. If you can find it, and that's exactly what happens, into the uppercut. Not going to get a capitalize, though, but, you know, the stick, he felt it.
Pretty high verticality fight going on here. By the way, Sharik is very rich right now. They have funneled a lot of souls in the Sharik, but also means Virtus Pro, they want to just fight around last stand timing, and when they're not, it's a little bit more difficult. However, Flammable getting caught. Not the worst pickup. What? Okay, that's a teammate save, but still, that's teammate save or not. That is a ridiculous hook to land over the top. Even if Kornev, you know, stay still. Just stay still.
Overseas is a problem, Sifi. He really is a problem.
He's like, I could invest in Rescue Beam or be my own. Hook on the Sharik. Sharik, no last stand here just yet. I think the saving grace for Sharik is that he's surrounded by teammates and no one else is ready there to do damage. Where, by the way, dear God, the difference between Listic and Sharik, where Sharik has been given all the farm, and Listic is almost entering in the sad Abrams territory of, well, I hope I can just land a charge.
Just emaciated.
Yeah, it's not a malnutritious, or Abrams suffering from malnutrition.
Yeah.
By the way, that's the power of Sinclair there. The fact that Sinclair just...
Oh my goodness. Overseas. Please. Please. Oh, Listic has a family. Anyway.
Well, if he had a family, the family also is not supporting him nor giving him food. So it's like, I mean, there's multiple levels of lacking nutrition for Listic here, which, by the way, is not necessarily a thing on Listic, because you look at the soul allocation, VP is clearly prioritizing a lot of their farm into Sharik, and you know, feel a big Fed Warden is their way to the end game, which honestly I think may be the call here. I mean, this front line is gonna be an issue. Here we go. Potential catch here on the Mikhail. Zanya, hot pursuit, and you see ABL coming in right in and over. Kill us though. Able to slide away, but while he's sliding away there, back over in the left, it's overseas again, and Dan, you figure that had to be a hook that set that up once more.
Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely so oppressive playing against overseas, and the chase is on here. The Flame Dash is not available anymore, I don't think so. I don't know if he's got anything to survive this. Concussive Combustion is not even going to have time to get... well, there's no combustion happening there, let's be honest. All right, so we've got a gang coming in from VP instead onto Empty Dreams. That's actually
who's
really
ganking who though? Who's ganking who? The Storm Cloud just does enough damage that nearly kills two, gives a getaway for Empty Dreams, covers it with the lightning ball down the tiny alleyway, and actually gets away. And when your summons at 22k and that over-farmed relative to the rest of the game, you just get to live in situations like that.
And you're already seeing, I think, the comp coming in to play here with One Win. Sure, they're not massively ahead on souls, but the harassment that they are consistently providing is really irritating. If you look at all the fights that we're covering here on the game, it's just like VP are just trying to do a thing, and they're just consistently getting harassed. Like there's hooks, there's all sorts of potential issues, and so they have to keep falling back. So very annoying to play against this.
Quick swap on the Zergi, immediately resulting in his demise. One Win again, just getting in these fights for the jungle, which is really what's causing most of these fights. By the way, when you look at these skirmishes, it's all about jungle aggression and how much One Win is trying to take the VP jungle. Sharik, though, uses the last stand, becomes the raid boss while it is up. Takes down Xenon. And now, you see Zanya running for dear life. Calico, though, not the easiest to chase down in these situations. Arguably the most slippery hero in the game at the moment. Well, actually, it's probably Sinclair, because Sinclair's done even more ridiculous escapes in this game alone.
ABL the pick onto Listic again. VP just can't quite get on the map at the moment, and so which ult do we have right now? I'm not sure which ult Sinclair has, but might not even be able to get to use anything. Divine Barrier coming on through. There is some support from teammates.
Still bullet dance.
Still staying alive, and there's the bullet dance from the Magician. Gonna have to fall back though. I don't know if he's long for this world with all this pain coming forward, and in fact, Zergy will take him down with the DOT, and it is not looking good here for VP. 2 players down already in this fight for the kill onto Flammable, and 1 win. Just pushing them further back. Zenon getting a really deep there, maybe an overcommitted play, and that's actually going to give VP actually a sense of victory.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the power of Holiday in those situations where even when you're a bit ahead in the game, you can just get lassoed into the walker and you're probably dead for most heroes not named Sinclair or Calico. So, quick destruction onto Xenon there, and yeah, I mean, right now, I think 1 win is relatively happy with the game state you're in right now. We went into this saying it's not enough to be even at this point in the game. They have to be ahead. They are currently ahead. The biggest threat heading for them that's like a little bit ominous would be the farm that's going on the Shriek. But on the same note, their front line is reasonably in it, and Empty Dreams has gotten huge. So the next few fights, especially for Urn, going to be very, very vital to figuring out the course of this game. VP, first move, grabs Urn, rotates it over, but these Urn fights aren't easy either, Dan, with the threat of both Paradox and Bebop setting you up for picks immediately.
Yeah, and as you say, like, you look behind all the harass, and it is overseas just farming. With that said, ABL in trouble here. The satchel will not get him out of the trouble, and that Urn actually looks like it will be picked up for VP. So perhaps a slight swing here for VP, but it does put pressure on their 1 win because they have that pressure on the left side of Walker. I don't know if they'll get it because there is a response on the way.
Yeah, I mean, the response is coming in. I think this is actually really good rotation for VP. They split off, let the Warden turn into Urn solo, and then, like, rotated people off to the left in time to defend Walker. Actually, very, very smart apportionment here from VP. If it's enough to save the Walker, though, the Walker getting pummeled. Zergy right now just going around the outside, and it's a full commit from 1 win into the Walker here. Not going to happen, though. Zanya, I mean, we'll get a little bit more damage. It's so cool. Oh, no, it does happen. So it's a full sacrifice. They give their lives for it. They get the Walker. Not the worst for 1 win, but I think it was a lot costlier than they would have expected from the jump.
And VP were putting a fight up for that mid walker against 1 win at the same time, but they barely, 1 win were barely able to save it. Overseas was forced to defend it, and it's very, very low right now. So you can see potential set up here onto the mid boss, and this is going to force a response. 2 players down for 1 win. This is the perfect timing to do it here for VP. But can they secure it?
You got to look to Sinclair. Where is the Rabbit Hex going to land? They preemptive last stand here just to make everything inhospitable. They go for the hook from above. They don't get it. It's Obi Kim with the rejuve take. And Flammable went for the Sinclair steal, immediately gets punished in turn. Virtus Pro turning the fate of the game around. Several key pickoffs, Dan. Get the Rejuvenator in turn. And now you just have to wonder, was the Walker sacrifice worth it? Where probably good time here for a little bit outside perspective. Blank, you've been watching this here. You saw the Walker trade, and it feels like it backfired pretty heavily.
Yeah, it has. To be honest with you, for Virtus Pro, what I really like is that we're losing, but they were losing very aggressively, right? They didn't really give up a lot of their jungle without a fight. And yes, it went poorly sometimes, but it was sometimes 2-for-1 trades here and there. They would get some of their jungle back. They were picking up Urn. They were allowing Sharik to just do whatever he wanted in the side lanes. And he was becoming such a problem. And it's important to get your Warden nice and fat early on, because a lot of times he was protecting Walker's 1v2, which he can absolutely do with last stand. So I love the way that Virtus Pro has handled this, but that's not to say that 1 win has not been impressive this game.
Well, Dan, the tides have turned entirely. You take a look at the map. Virtus Pro now ahead on objectives, ahead in souls. In our first map of the money match, $1,000 on the line. And, you know, VP are reigning champions for many, many weeks now, kind of proving the resiliency that you need to keep on a streak that they've had. Because I think a lot of other teams versus 1 win that were down as much as they would fold. And instead, you know, Virtus Pro, they wait for their one opportunity and they capitalize in spades.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because of the timing and the positioning of that fight that turned it all around at the mid boss, where Empty Dreams had Cloud Storm available, but just wasn't really in a spot to rotate quickly enough and get into a position where like that could have come in onto that fight at the right timing. as well. And given the fact that Empty Dreams is really high and up on souls, that's like that. This is like what you're playing for. Like you're playing for those moments where you got like this overwhelming power, like spirit damage coming out from Empty Dreams on those ults. But you have to be able to find those ults, and that was a key moment where it wasn't found.
If we can get an Empty Dreams look at real quick, I'm curious like where Empty Dreams is at itemization right now on a few things. Just again, understanding of where the next fight goes. Specifically, you know, I just wonder. Okay, he ended up going with Colossus early rather than Unstoppable. The reason why I say that is that there's a world where he could just force out VP with a really good Storm Cloud, but VP is also at the point where they're going to have options to interrupt. I'm curious when Unstoppable comes into play here, if it comes into play, because right now it's just a really tanky 7, but not one that you can't immediately shut down Storm Cloud on, is where we're at.
Yes, that's great. That's a great point. And I mean, that's one of the sort of turning points that OneWin would have in these fights. Nothing to really block that Storm Cloud, as long as it can stay safe from like a lasso and so on and so forth. Kedian is going to be collected here by OneWin, but we've got 5 players ready to meet up with VP.
Shriek last standing right now. Shriek in the front line. Swap coming out right away. Shriek under pressure. He's gonna go for the last stand right now, you would think. Goes last stand, but it's not in time. Doesn't have enough time to make up the health deficit. Way too deep in the hole. Now the chase down on the Obakim happening via the teleporter. And look, it's overseas, over the top, coming in for the hook potentially on the Obakim. Is he gonna land it? Was looking, and no, Obakim gets away from it. Dan, my eyes were glued to the main map there, expecting to just see Obakim just getting brought in from across the map. Doesn't happen this time though.
No, but OneWin, you know, they need this on. They're going to ferry it across. It looks like it's not going to be contested. At this point, VP do not have the position to do so. So small win there for OneWin to get closer to equalizing the Souls situation, which is really important, especially considering how inflated Empty Dreams is compared to his teammates. So kind of actually is a little bit worse, that difference, than it might otherwise appear. Now, VP, obviously the rejuve is gone. And it's going to be interesting to see how the game resets here, because mid-boss is 2.5 minutes away. And given how much pressure OneWin like to put on and how many options they have for picks, a pick into mid-boss is definitely one way that OneWin could crack open the game. And given that there's not much jungle left on the map at the moment, you know, that might be what would precipitate a big move, is that next mid-boss.
Yeah, and you look at where it's at right now. Just look at where OneWin is apportioning their players. You know, a little bit more onto the left, letting the right side be as it may. You got a bit of the jungle respawning right now. You see vaults coming back up. Right side of the jungle going to be more aggressively contested by VP here in the moment. And you have Zanya almost being in a scouting role, where I think they have a general idea that VP is on the right side of the map, and they just want to set up a good fight. And what better way to do that than a little bit of scouting intel right now from Zanya, keeping tabs on where VP is. VP almost full death ball mode now, as both teams get ready for a team fight. Mid-boss, a minute 30 away. And look at the setup here. Was looking right Mikhail's, and I don't think Mikhail even actually knew that Zanya was there. Just the secret Calco information, Dan.
It's always good. Always good for it. Okay, we are closing in. I'm really fixated on this mid boss. I think neither team really happy to. Like, this is the thing, actually. It's very hard to kind of engineer a fight at this point. We saw previously a lot of fights were created by OneWin because they use their map control to pressure jungle. Not really any jungle, not really that much map control. So they don't have a lot of options to easily find those pickoffs at the moment, as we see these rotations around the map, just pressuring these lanes. But it feels like it's all just like, you know, padding time until we get, oh, well, hello, we might actually have a good opportunity for OneWin. They've got 2 players cornered at the moment. There is that paradoxical swap. If this comes into a kill with the mid-boss 30 seconds away, this is a huge moment here for OneWin, DP.
Shriek's down. Shriek has no ability to get last stand up. OneWin's plan executed. They find Shriek, they go in for the immediate pickoff, and they just dive into the jungle, and that all got set up by Zanya just scouting on the Calico. It was the Calico information network that set those 2 kills up. Mid-boss is up in 15 seconds. If they get this extra stagger here, this should be a mid-boss now for OneWin.
Oh, they're gonna get the mid walker as well. There comes the cloud form right over the top of the walker, and This is not looking good right now for VP. 3 players down. We can go back for the mid boss, and this is precisely what we're talking about. And I love how you're talking about the information network from the Calico. It just reminds me of, like, for the Game of Thrones enjoyers, like Varys and all of his little birds. You know, like...
Yeah, you heard about Varys and the little birds. Right now it's 1win and the little cat, singular. ABL, oof. Listic, I mean, just in the area. There's a world where you could steal it, but man, I don't know if you want to be there. So 1win, off the extra information in the jungle, set up a great team fight, move in here, get Rejuvenator, and now it's VP and a rare situation on the back foot as we approach minute 30 here, Dan. Still a game that can go either way, but you know, a game that I think is a lot closer than some may have expected from the onset.
Oh yeah, and obviously right now 1 Walker behind for 1win. So that's going to be one of the basic objectives, is to try to find a way to clear out these walkers. It might be hard for them to just challenge them directly now that almost everybody from VP is up. So they'll have to find a way to, again, get a pick. But hey, they've got a lot of opportunities to do that, to pick up some of the buffs along the way. And the urn is also there as well that could potentially be collected. But it doesn't feel like they can just barrel down VP. They really have to select their fights carefully here. But VP, they are feeling the potential mid-walker pressure, so that's the kind of default position that they're defending right now.
Well, also, the 2 fights in a row that 1win have won have all come off the back of just isolating Shriek early. Warden is one of the heroes in the game that, if you initiate super hard on the Warden, usually they're not going to have a way out of it. Last stand is not enough because you're just in such a hole from all the focus fire, right? So, you know, for VP, #1 goal here is don't let Shriek get focused on early in these fights. And you know, part of that is just keeping information advantage. Here in the back, though, Lasso immediately sets up Zanya for death. Michaelis there on the finish. Dimov in over the top. VP, a much better engage here because, again, it doesn't start with Shriek dying. Shriek's super low, but has gotten value out of the last stand this time around. And Michaelis right now looking for a little bit of garbage time pickoffs as the fight breaks down.
Michaelis doing so much work in these fights, great finishing shots, and the damage as well from Michaelis. We saw how much output there was right before anything even, you know, happened. So, you know, shout outs to the observers for catching that early on as we get the escape here. And this is dangerous right now for 1win. Okay, there comes the bullet dance to try to finish off the Sinclair, and eventually he's gonna have to come out of the ethereal form. So. That's gonna work out.
I do really enjoy just the length of bullet dance in the late game where you see Sinclair pop the shift and you're just sitting there, you just imagine him staring a hole into the haze going like, you gotta stop dancing? And Haze is like, no, I actually do not want to stop dancing.
I see Calico.
Can't stop the dance. And in the middle of the map, it looks like 1win want to go for a potential challenge here on the intercept. And can they find any return picks? ABL still with that Rejuve buff. This is a big fight now in mid. It's kind of sprawling as 1win trying to retreat, but they're going to be forced to come back into this fight. I think they've got enough players here. In goes ABL, off of the cloak, into the satchel, around the side here on the holiday, trying to find a player. No lasso available, but the damage, the headshots are huge, and that's going to be enough to take down Zenon. But after all is said and done, it's a 1-for-1 ZP.
I think Flammable might have duplicated last stand there. We didn't really get a clear shot of it, but just going off of where the ult charge is and how that one broke down. But yeah, again, I think when 1win is winning fights decisively, it's when they're getting on the Shriek early. And also, you know, we pointed it out, Shriek was once way ahead of the game, and Shriek has fallen vastly behind just for the fact that 1win has made their strategy kill the Warden.
Well, the creep's got the Walker for 1win on the right lane, so that's not good for VP. And so now it's just a 1 Walker to 1 Walker. And it's another potential urn fight. But it doesn't really feel like VP are in nearly as good of a position to challenge for this.
And VP know it. That's why they don't even go for the attempt there, especially with 2 down. So, I mean, 1win trying to nurse a bigger lead here. I think the part that gets a little scary for VP, again, comes back to income allocation. We've kind of shifted to the element of the game where the most important player for VP is probably Zergy, right? Where part of why you go for an Infernus build is that you're looking forward to this part of the game when you are 30 minutes in and your Infernus like cracks 40k. And it's just a matter of, does Zergy have enough to dictate the pace of the game now over counterparts on the other side? There's a quick pause, but you know what? It doesn't look like fight's immediately breaking out. Blank What do you think right now? Team breakdown between both teams.
Oh, team breakdown. You're on the fly right now. I think honestly, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like a lot of focus is going into getting Shark caught out because without the last stand, he really does suffer. This is good play coming through from MKLS to get out of there. A lot of movement tape required, but he has been a massive boom for the team. I think DDK was pointing out there as well. As soon as you get crippling headshot as well as Mystic Slow online, like you start to shred with Flight. And I think that was the one thing that won them that previous team fight. I just don't think they were expecting Mikhail to be doing that much damage at this point in the game.
The ominous hand of God just right to the right of Abrams there, Dan. But, you know, one thing about the tech we just saw from Mikhail S, though, I feel like that's part of why Bebop's value does drop a little bit as you get into the late game, is that when people start picking up Shift and adding extra defensive items, getting full access to their kit, a hook is not the death sentence at minute 35 the way it is in the first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. The scaling always makes things really interesting if both teams are like kind of able to hold on competitively into the late game, because things start getting kind of weird. Like, you know, one of the notable ones is like Hayes' bullet dance can potentially fall off pretty massively for a variety of reasons. Then you get late enough and like teams start getting curses online. Could expect to see that from the Bebop, and that's a great response there from the Abrams. Beautiful work. One win, putting on the pressure.
Sinclair still gets out. That aggressive an opening by Flammable gets resources put in on him, goes in a mile away from his assistant, and just shifts out. This is why Sinclair gets banned, yeah.
Absolutely. And look at the chase. The chase is really on here for one win. They are sending it right now across the map, trying to just hunt down the Seeing Red. The bloodthirst here from one win is real. And they've got the mid boss. Oh my god, they've already got 2 picks as well. They could just fall straight back into the mid boss, and that's exactly what's happening. VP have to respond somehow. If they don't respond to this, CP is starting to look pretty grim for them.
They need the contest, but God, it is not a great contest to go for here. However,
oh my god,
they abduct Bebop. So they're going to go back here. They're going to get this pick off on to overseas. However, the Rejuvenator is coming down. Are they going to be able to cause enough havoc there? Listic is going in, but it's too far. It can't go in for the seismic slam. And the Rejuvenator going the way of one win. So they lasso overseas, but that's what all they get in turn for the Rejuvenator. Not the best trade.
Dude, I love the lasso at this stage of the game, where it's like this mandatory field trip that you have to go on. It's just so far you can get carried away. But that rejuve for one win is the second one now. They're going to get the urn behind this. The jungle's actually respawned here as well. So this is actually a good opportunity, unlike the previous rejuve, for one win to actually claim a lot of farm.
Also, just, you know, some random community feedback as we go there. Some people are like, you know, why is my boy Listic so broke right now? It's because the family gave the family inheritance to Shariq in the early mid game. The priority was to feed Shariq, and then one win have just changed their strategy to kill Shariq before last stand in most of these fights. So Listic is surviving right now, chat. That's all you have to know. Listic is surviving, but a 28k Abrams in a game where most people are 38k or more, it's not the best Abrams experience. It just isn't. But all right, lasso here on the Calco. Is it gonna be enough to kill? Shift comes out, return the shadow, should be coming right after. Still alive. The durability escape power of Calico here. Zanya turns into Ava and gets out of there. Ridiculous, Dan. Last stand, though, getting some value here for Shariq, but still getting gunned down all sides. Not ahead of the game the way he was in the past. Still taken down by ABL. ABL, though, dropping one heck of a bag. As Demov comes in there, now back and forth. One win, looking for trade outs here. They're good for it with the Rejuvenator. They're happy for this fight. And VP has to be careful here. It's going to result in first stage patron loss.
Yeah, really, really scary situation now developing where both ABL and Empty Dreams like 50k plus. Really strong. Going straight in here. Like there's a Bebop flying around here. 100 HP there. Overseas will get taken down. Great trades coming out again once more. Mikhail S dealing key damage, but eventually with no front line to protect him, Mikhail S gets isolated on that very immobile hero. And the chase continues here in favor of one win. There's a paradoxical swap. There's the annihilation of Demoth. And with that, this mid walker is now under huge threat. Only Zergy on Infernus to potentially defend this. 50k Zergy, very strong, but there's 4 players here. Zergy, there's nothing that he can do to stop this. And there's the Hex as well. Look at the rabbit.
Did I just see a huge bag on Zergy there, by the way? It was like, it wasn't ultra in focus, but it looked like Zergy's like butt was more bag than butt at that point. It is,
Yeah,
I
totally.
was looking at that. I mean, that got a big bag.
I was able to get out of there too. So
Oh, okay,
Yay.
it's fine. You just warp stone and just superior stamina your way back to the fountain. Again, back to the idea of getting hooked as Bebop, not as big of a deal. But first stage patron is down here, Dan, and One Win isn't retreating here just yet.
no, might be still able to engineer some more picks here as they continue to press the pressure, the presence. Empty Dreams has cloud form still, so that's a huge shot. Hyper Beam comes in as well from overseas, trying to cause havoc here. Zergy on this Infernus, trying to get that target fire going. It manages to force away overseas for the moment, but still, One Win in a pretty good spot here. There is
They're
the Blitz
committing.
in the pit, and they're potentially going for this here. Again, Empty Dreams has used a cloud form now, so it might swing back to VP's favor. They are beating them back here, ZP. Look at Infernus. Look at the damage coming in. There's no way to stop it. And even more kills potentially here for Zergy as he continues the pursuit.
Yeah, One Win went for the commit there, but it completely went against them. The bullet dance just cleaving through, and just like that, Virtus Pro back in this game. I mean, they're still down stage 1 patron, but they're not finished off here. They closed the economy gap, and oh man, I'm getting flashbacks. Remember, it was One Win a few DFNs ago where they were on the verge of knocking out Virtus Pro early on, and they did like 3 all-ins and all got rejected.
Yeah. So the Walker's going to go down left side lane, and the base should go down here. I think that they can probably even potentially. Okay, they haven't made enough progress necessarily to wipe out the base, so just give me the Walker actually. Okay, so this is, I think, One Win are pretty happy with that if that's going to be the case. Are we going to get any shrines here? No,
We'll see.
no shrines. They're going to fall back. There's a lot of jungle though, to be fair, to fall back onto.
Yeah,
And
I
young,
mean,
too.
I think this turns into a reset a little bit where VP, you farm the jungle, you go from there, but dear God, this is... Are we about to set a record for most farmed heroes in Deadlock Fight Night history? Zergy's at 58k.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And what's also interesting from that point of view as well is that Empty Dreams is no longer like super ahead of everyone. You know, that's kind of evened out because Empty Dreams has been partaking in more of the fights.
Yeah, I mean, I guess here's what you have to start asking yourself is how ridiculous does Infernus get this deep in a pro level game? Because normally, I mean, even in like your pub games, when someone gets this high, usually the game is just over, right? Like this is still relatively even, which you wouldn't expect to hear the words even when you have a 58k Infernus on your team. But here we are.
Here we are, and we might be about to see a potential fight here again. Usually One Win's the ones that initiate this, but instead the lasso connects. That's Sinclair as well, that's vulnerable. Okay, your crowd control with the hexes, it's gone. Oh no.
You go. You go. If you're Virtus Pro, you're screaming to the microphone, say go. Just go. Find the rest of the fight with the early Sinclair pick. But the rest of One Win doesn't really want a part of that right after. But 50 seconds, mid boss is up. I think VP sends us mid here, Dan, and a little bit of earn play on top of it.
Yeah, I think the mid play definitely makes sense. One Win, very smart. I don't know if there's like a protocol that they have where it's like, okay, this late, it's a respawn like this. We just disengage. We do not try to take any fights when we have a player down like this. The potential outcome of losing another player is just at this time the game would be over probably. So
Actually, One Win, I think they thought it was more direct mid. I mean, we did too, looking at the minimap for a moment. Instead, they take advantage of all the middle defense when they don't see anyone on the map. One Win goes middle, VP just gets free earn, gets even more, and now they decide to go middle. They still have this window here when Sinclair isn't up. I think they've min-maxed their time here. Let's see how the contest from One Win comes in. Could be the game-deciding fight. Mid boss.
far away.
Already dropping the scream. The Rejuvenator coming on down. How is this contest going to work out? Xenon looking for a swap. Listic in over the top. Unstoppables are popped, and it's Listic grabbing the Rejuvenator. With Stormcloud in over the top from Empty Dreams. ABL immediately murdering two right after with the aid of the Stormcloud. 2-for-1 trade in favor of One Win. So they lose the Rejuvenator, but now on pursuit, take down Listic. I mean, this isn't the worst for one win. If you're gonna give up the rejuve, at least you burn a lot of those rejuvenators right after. And the chase down, it's not stopping. McKLS now in danger. Calico in his face. Return fire nearly takes down Zanya in turn. That's some serious damage out of McKLS, but not enough.
That is serious damage from McKLS. He is a very serious boy. Now, the problem is that the lane wasn't pushed enough in mid for there to be any capitalization off of the rejuve. So rather, I should say the kills on VP because they had the rejuve. So now VP are actually looking like they want to capitalize on how all the lanes are pushed. VP really needs to try to get the first stage patron down now if they possibly can. Their Overseas is still down right now, but he's going to respawn soon.
Getting patron down is going to be easier said than done. I mean, Overseas is about to be back up. Quick swap here on the D-Mob. Is fall through going to be there? D-Mob trying to run away. 300 HP, just getting burned. 50, 41. It actually hit one. D-Mob still alive after 1 HP. Literal 1. I don't believe it, Dan. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, straight back to base. Straight back to base. In fact, everybody's getting completely wrecked here. The health bars across the board for VP so low. They're on the retreat. This might be a prime situation for one win because 4 players do not have rejuve, and picks are definitely on the board if the pursuits here can follow through. If we can get a hook, but it looks like VP are going to get out of there unscathed. Unbelievable. I think even just 1 kill would have been devastating for them.
That was within the variance of like 1 golden statue plus HP buff.
Right.
It's how D-Mob lived there. Oh my word. And hopefully they've given myself hiccups laughing over the absurdity. But we now have 7 in the middle of things. Colossus pop, Stormclad out. Empty Dreams in there. Dan, please take over. I need to take a swig of water.
Yeah, this is a huge fight here. VP already losing 2 players. McKLS goes down. He's a huge playmaker, getting that damage into the team. The damage is gone. ABL gets charged, but so many blue health bars surrounding Abrams. Listic gets taken down, and this is looking pretty bad right now for VP. However, they equalize 3 players down for either side now as the fight continues. This is going all the way here from both teams, and ABL, Zanya, Flammable, all 3 players, very hard to kill, and right now things fairly even. Obi Kim of all players still with the rejuve up is the most healthy, looking to try to get these kills going, but it's looking kind of difficult here right now.
No, did Flammable actually just get out of that? The shift is too strong. Belasso though now on to ABL. Virtus Pro still fighting 3-on-3. ABL though able to get out of it. Still find the kill onto Zergy. This is ridiculous. Now D-Mob running away. The bullet dance coming into play here. Just chewing through it. Nope. Assistant out. Flammable. The great escape. The magic, though, finally fails as Obikim able to finish it off. And what can only be described, in the words of the great JR, as a slobber knocker.
Okay, but the county players are down right now. Okay, VP are going to be up pretty quickly. So 1 win again. Can't capitalize off of winning a big team fight like this. They're going to have to fall back. They are going to have to fall back, defend the base. That is heartbreak. Looking to get the earn ABL, but there's actually a challenge. Sharik is there to potentially challenge, and ABL's going to just say, all right, have it. You can have it. And that's going to be ferried across the map. And okay, they're taking stock. The soul differential is basically like nothing at this point. 5k is not even worth talking about. So 46 minutes, going on 47 minutes here. And it looks like there might be a challenge from one win onto the earn deposit. They're not going to stop it, but there's a hook to end all hooks. Blocking the uppercut though, and still it's not enough, and Sharik goes down. You've said it a few times, EP. That's a pretty key pick to get.
It is. Oh boy. This was good. We're nearly, you realize we're 13 minutes from hitting an hour into this game of just wild back and forths. We have an Infernus at 71k is where we're at right now.
Hello, what?
I mean, eventually you start hitting the point where, what was your game plan when you wonder, I have too much money for tier 4 items in every slot?
Yep.
That's effectively where we're at right now.
This is the push though. Sharik is down and they're going straight into the base here. And let's not forget that hit hooks to the miss, but it's just a weakened patron. So all they need is like 1 kill. They can dive into the pit. We know they love a dive, and ABL gets the initial pick onto Listic. This could be the moment here, CP. We are once again going for that field trip straight into the fountain, but Bebop able to escape for now.
Bebop Super low HP. Not going to get away from that one. One win, though. Again, onto the patron. Will history repeat itself? I don't think so. One win. About to go up one map in the money match versus the undefeated Virtus Pro of the last 7 weeks. They get map 1.
Yo, what a crazy game. 1 win in VP. Oh my God. Absolutely wild game. One of the best games I think we've had here in DFN. And that's just the first in this best of 3 ZP. What?